So how on earth do you turn 100 Rand into more than 2,600,000 Rand in just 7 months? This is what I'd like to share with you in this training session. And I'm going to focus on why is it that by far the majority of people will never ever be able to do the same thing. And I'm going to use a very simple example to show you how we are confoculated by the financial system and even the educational system. And that's the main reason why we can't do it ourselves. Now, confoculate simply means it's a mental state of mind when you do not know that you don't know what you're supposed to know. And then I'm also going to share with you a strategy that you can follow to be able to do the same thing. Now, I can tell you beforehand that unless you are prepared to take responsibility to learn the skills in order to be able to do this, there's no ways that is going to happen. In other words, if you want to give your money to someone else and think that they're going to give it to you or give you that money back, I think that you're going to lose your money, even if it's only 100 Rand. So please, never in your life give someone like 100 Rand expecting that they're going to give you a lot of money back. Now, if this is something that you'd like to know, welcome to this channel. I'm Dreyer. I'm the founder of the Wealth Creators Method, where we help entrepreneurs and investors to create, to grow, and to protect their wealth by simply applying the Wealth Creator Strategy. The Wealth Creator Strategy is the intelligent use of limited resources to go from where you are to where you want to be in the shortest possible time with the least amount of risk. So as a wealth creator, we do not take risk. Now, this whole challenge actually started with the 500,000 Rand challenge. Right, and the 500K challenge was where a client gave two experts here in South Africa 500,000 Rand each, with the instruction to see who's going to give him the most money back at the end of 5 years. The one guy specializes in offshore investments and the other one in mutual funds. And the moment that I saw that on the 1st of November 2021, I sent out the email to my databases and I said to them, I'm going to take on this challenge. Because there's absolutely nothing that anyone is going to learn except to see what it is that they do. And our job here at the Wealth Creators Method is to help people to create, to grow, and to protect their wealth. And one way to do that is through training and through education. And this is the reason why you're watching this video at the moment. Okay, so the problem is that the majority of people, when they start off, the people that needs this information the most, will not have 500,000 Rand. So where do you start if you've got nothing? And this is why I took on this 100 Rand challenge. So the 100 Rand challenge is first of all to go from 100 Rand, literally, to 500,000 Rand, so that I can actually start with the challenge. So although the name of this challenge is a 500K challenge, we start with 100 Rand. And I gave myself a year to get to the 500,000 by applying the Wealth Creator Strategy. Now, luckily for us, at the moment, 7 months later, we're just over 2.6 million. But then to take this money that we've got and over a 5-year period, get to 20 million, again, by applying the Wealth Creator Strategy that I'm going to share with you today. So let's start right at the beginning. Because unless we're going to understand how it works, we will not be able to do it. So I'm going to make it as simple as possible, because otherwise you're going to miss one of the greatest lessons in life. Okay, so we start off by asking the question, what is a wealth creator? And a wealth creator is simply a person that knows how to create, to grow, to protect, and to enjoy their wealth by following the Wealth Creators Method. Now, the main reason why people do not become wealth creators themselves is because we listen to the financial institutions and the educational system, and we do not understand the basics. When you look at investment, there's only two parts to any investment. There's the risk part, and then there's the growth part. That's all. But the moment that I'm giving my money away to someone else, I'm taking all the risk and I've got no control over the growth. So when we look at the way that Warren Buffett sees risk, he says is that risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. So the moment that we do not know what it is that we do, then we are busy taking risk. So what's the only way to offset risk? Is to have the skills. And if we really look at it, there's only 4 high-value skills. The first skill is what we call the high-value mental skills. If you are not prepared to let go of the limited beliefs that you've got, you will not learn and do that you need to do in order to take 100 Rand and turn it into 20 million over a 5-year period. In other words, there are 3 things that becomes very important if you want to become successful and you want to turn 100 into 20 million. The first one is you must be able to handle and manage your mindset. In other words, your mental skills, right? You have to be in control of your thinking, of your belief systems, because we are indoctrinated and conditioned by the system to believe certain things that are simply not the truth. And as long as you are going to keep on believing that, you're going to do that you've always done, and therefore you cannot go through the process to turn the 100 into 20 million. Now, the mindset is there so that we can learn the skill sets. And this is where the 4 high-value skills comes into play. So the skill set is that you have to do it yourself. You cannot rely on someone else to take your money and to do it on your behalf. There's only one way. You have to take the responsibility and to learn the skills. But the skills in itself means nothing unless you apply the third part to it, and that is the action set. So if you're not going to take action in order to turn the 100 into the 20 million and follow a very specific process or a method, there's no ways that is going to happen. So what do most people do? What are the actions that they do? They take the 100 Rand and they give it to someone else, expecting a miracle. It's not going to happen. Why do they do that? They haven't got the skill sets to do it themselves. That's the only reason. There's no other reason. If you know how to do it, I know that you're going to do it. If you can take 100 Rand and turn it into 2 million in a year or even over a 5-year period, you're not going to give your money away. But why is it that we give our money away? Because of the mindset. We are conditioned through our belief systems that we cannot do it or that it is difficult to do it. And therefore we rely on others to do it for us. And that is where the problem comes in. Okay, so therefore it starts with the high value skills and we start with the mental skills. Once that is in place, then there are 3 skills that we need to master. And you don't have to master all of them, but of course it's going to help. And I'm using all of these skills to turn the 100 into 20 million, where we're at the moment just over 2.6 million. So the first one is high income skill or high value income skill, then high value business skills, and then high value investment skills. Now, what is the traditional way when we think in terms of growing our money? We think in terms of there's risk and there's growth. But what if we do not understand what risk is? So let's go and define, because Warren Buffett says risk is when you do not know what you're doing. So what's the traditional way? Well, as a certified financial planner many, many years ago, I've been on retirement, I think now for 27 years. I retired at the age of 37. And I've learned that it's the standard deviation or that is risk. In other words, it's a risk-reward trade-off. And normally you're going to find that the way that they explain it is that the lower the risk, the lower the growth, and the higher the risk, the higher the potential or the higher the growth is going to be. And a quick way to explain that is when you go to a financial advisor, you're going to find that this financial advisor is going to do a risk profile on you. And based on this process, this risk assessment, they're going to tell you to put your money in different classes or different asset classes. For example, cash, a little bit in cash, or short-term bonds and T-bills and stuff like that. Maybe a little bit in gold, index funds, and then on the high risk side into venture capital and alternative investments, that type of thing. But Warren Buffett says risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. So when I take my money, the money that I've worked for, and I give it to someone else, like a financial advisor or a broker or an intermediary, what happens? Do you know really what you're doing? And I think the answer is no, because you're taking 100% risk. So irrespective of this risk profile that you've just completed, you are at risk, and only you are at risk. And once you understand that, then you'll understand that you cannot take more than 100% risk. It is virtually impossible to be able to do that. So what do they then do with your money? They go a little bit low risk, medium risk, high risk, depending on your portfolio. But here's the thing. The moment that I give my money that I've really worked hard for to someone else, do I have any control over the growth? And I think that you know the answer, so it's no. But here's something else that I want you to understand, is that all of these products that you see on this image are being sold as a solution to the problem. In other words, the people that are selling these products, right, they are salesmen, and they earn a commission or a fee. And every one of these products are being sold as a solution to the problem. But you're not going to learn any skills the moment that you give your money to someone else. You've got no control over that growth that they're going to give you. And yet we do it because we are conditioned to do that. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the traditional system do not teach you the skills. They teach you everything that you need to know about the tax and the income tax and the VAT and the estate duties and what the law tells you and what can happen and what can't happen. But these people that are selling the products have got no idea how to create money out of thin air, or how to take 100 Rand and turn it themselves into 20 million. They rely on that they've been taught. But that is a lie. How do I know it? I come from that industry. I understand how that industry works. Now, is it a bad industry? No, it's not a bad industry. Because if you are not prepared to take the responsibility to learn the skills yourself, then it's 100 times better to go to your broker or your advisor and let them do it for you, because at least you're going to do something. But most people, or a lot of people, say, okay, I don't trust my broker, but then they don't work with their money. In other words, by the end of the day, they retire and they've got absolutely nothing. But this specific series, the 500K challenge, are for those people that are willing to take the responsibility to learn the skills to do it themselves by not taking risk. So if you're not one of those people, you're going to waste your time to listen to any of my material that I've got. So the industry educates their intermediaries to sell their products. So if you've got a pension fund or a provident fund or a retirement annuity or a mutual fund or a unit trust, any of those products, I'm telling you that someone has sold you that product, and that person that sold it to you is a very knowledgeable, and they have to pass serious exams in order to be able to help you to place your investment. But here's the trick. They've got no idea how to turn 100 Rand into 2 million themselves, or to take 500,000 and grow it to 2 million themselves. And that is where the problem comes in that you're going to learn. Now, I've learned this many years ago, and I've learned that there are two systems. I've trained and I qualified many years ago to be a certified financial planner. Luckily for me, for the last, 27 years, I'm not doing that anymore. In other words, I'm not an advisor. This whole series is not about trying to give you advice. It's about to educate you so that you can make a better and informed decision about your life. So there are two systems. The reason why I became a certified financial planner was simply to learn how to become rich myself, and then to help my clients at that point in time. But what I've learned is during that stage, there are two systems. The one is a financial system, which is based on a fractional system. And then there's a second system that is based on multiplication. So let's look at the first one, because remember, our job is to keep it as simple as possible. So the fractional system, the way that it works on that graph that I showed you, works in this. In other words, these people are not lying. So if I want 1,000 Rand return, right, growth on my money per year, Then I'm going to go to the different institutions, and let's say the best one gives me 10%. So how much money must I give them so that I can get 1,000 Rand growth? I must give them 10,000 Rand. So if I want more growth or more income, then what must I do? I have to double my exposure. I have to double my risk. In other words, I'm going to give them 20,000 Rand. So the higher the risk, the higher the growth is 100% true from their point of view. Not from a wealth creator's point of view, but from their point of view, it's 100% the truth. But then there's a second system that no one talks about. And this is the universal truths, or let's call it nature. And this system works on multiplication. So the way that I see it was, we were created to live in a world of absolute total abundance. But it's not happening because the system hijacked this that we need to know, and they give us the wrong information. So let's look at this. And by the way, this is how I discovered it. I've developed the Property Pro investment system many years ago, and then I got it to a free property, and I could not get my mind around it. How is it possible to take nothing and start making money, and it never cost you? In other words, they pay you literally to get that property. It's the same principle at the moment. When you say to someone, I can take 100 Rand and turn it into 20 million, their minds go, whoops, it's not possible. Let me show you that it is, and that it's more than possible by simply doing this. Now remember, we're going to keep it simple. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. And the beginning is, so that orange orchard starts with actually a seed, an orange seed. So what's the potential of this orange seed? Stay with me. I know it sounds very straightforward and simple, but I guarantee you that the majority of people do not get this. And the moment that they get that, your life is going to change forever. So what's the potential? I think that you're going to agree with me that that seed will become a plant, a tree, and then it's going to start bearing oranges, fruits. Now, what's the value of that orange seed? To most people, there's no value in it. We buy the orange, we eat the orange, and we spit out the seed. It has got no value. But how is it that to some people that has got massive orchards and that are multi-millionaires with oranges, why is it that to them they see the value? So how on earth then do you unlock the potential and convert that into value? Because if we know how to do that with orange seed, then surely we'll be able to do it with money. There's only one way, and that is we must have the skills. So I hope that you see what happens. If that orange becomes ripe, it falls onto the ground, the chances are almost zero that there's any trees that's going to start growing from that. Because unless you plant that seed in the right conditions in the earth, it's not going to grow. So it takes our skills, your skill or someone else's skill, to know when to plant that seed, how deep to plant that seed, in what kind of soil to plant that seed, and how to nurture that seed. Only then will that seed turn into a plant, and the plant is going to start bearing fruit. So it's the skill that turns a seed into a tree. And if you harvest that in 5 or 10 years over the next 10 years, and you plant each and every one of those seeds, you're going to have an orchard. I hope that you're getting this. Now, what's the difference between an orange seed and 1 Rand? What if I'm telling you that there's no difference? Because a Rand has got no value except the value that a government places on it. So if I take this 100 Rand and I'm in Russia and I want to buy stuff to the value of 100 Rand, they cannot accept this 100 Rand because it's not legal tender in their country. The only way to be able to do it is to go through the bank, exchange this for whatever currency they are using, the same in any other currency or any other country. So it's only the value that the government places on that. That is what gives the Rand value. I hope you've got this, because we're going to start building on it. So what's the value of 100 seeds versus 100 Rand? I think there's no difference, because most people do not value, and they can't do anything with 1 rand, and they can't do anything with 1 seed. Therefore, they can't do anything with 100 rand or with 100 seeds, because simply it does not work for us. Okay? Why not? Well, this is because of the financial system. So if I get 100 seeds, I've worked for these seeds, and I'm taking these seeds, what do I normally do? At the end of the month, or when you've got a lump sum, you go to the expert. So the expert is going to do the risk analysis for you, and then based on that risk analysis, he or she is going to tell you, okay, put a little bit of the 100 seeds here, 120 or 30 seeds in medium, and maybe 5 or 10 seeds in terms of high growth. That is normally the way that we are conditioned when it comes to money. Remember, there's no difference between seeds and money. And this is the lesson that I want you to get. Now check here. What do they then do, the financial institutions, with 100 seeds? And this is where it comes interesting. Because they're going to take your seeds and they're going to plant those seeds. Now, see what happens. The moment that I take my seeds and I'm giving it to them, there's a contract. We call it a promissory note. In other words, they're going to give us, over a certain period of time, certain things back, according to a contract. But that money, my seeds, now suddenly is not mine anymore. It is only if the conditions are met that I can get my money back. But check here, and this is the reason and how I understood this, and that changed my life. They take the seed and they plant the seed. The moment that seed turns into a natural process, into a plant, that becomes an asset to them. In other words, you've got no right on their assets that they are building and growing from your seeds. I hope that you get this. And then that plant is going to become a tree. And that tree is going to start bearing fruits. So let's make a hypothetical and set up a scenario for you. So in 5 years' time from now on, there's 100 trees. Each and every one of those trees has got 400 oranges on average, right? That means there's 400 times 100, and each and every orange has got, hypothetically, let's say 5 seeds. So when they harvest, they're going to collect 200,000 seeds. What do? They take 200 out of the 200,000 seeds that they've got, and they give you back your 100 plus 100, and they call that compounded growth or return on investment. So by doubling your money, you get 100% return on investment, but at the same time, that's the equivalent of about 15% compounded growth. Difference between the two, and we have to understand this, but in essence, it's the same, exactly the same thing, just the terminology that changes. That means they're sitting with 199,800 seeds. But here's the best part. Because that tree, the capital is theirs, next year it's going to do exactly the same thing. But they do not have to give you back any more seeds, because per contract, they fulfilled the contract. I hope that you're getting this. Now, what is their risk? Their risk is zero, my friend. Zero. Nada. Nothing. It's not their blood, not their sweat, not their tears, not the effort that goes into acquiring those seeds or that money that you are giving to them. Therefore, their growth is infinite. So when I come to people and I say I can turn 100 rand or zero into 20 million, immediately people say, no ways, it's possible, you are bullshitting, you are scamming other people. I'm not asking for your money, I'm telling you what I'm doing. And then I've got students that is following me that is doing exactly the same thing. I really don't need your money, I don't need your inputs, I don't need your advice. I know how to do it, and it's not the first time that I've been doing this. Because my passion is to teach people the basics so that they can decide if this is for them. The majority of people are not going to do it. Why? Because it takes time and effort and people are lazy. And we are conditioned that someone else can do it for you. And it's far better to blame someone else when you stay poor or someone stay poor than to take the responsibility and say, the reason why I'm poor is because I've never wanted to learn and was never prepared to take the responsibility to learn the skills to become rich. The only difference between rich people and poor people is that rich people are taking the responsibility to learn the skills. There's no other flippin' way on this earth that rich people become rich. It's not because they are blessed or that they have got certain genes or that they are, have got a high IQ or something like that. No, it's nonsense. It is simply those people who were prepared, and maybe some of them through luck started to learn the skills in order to get to where they wanted to be. So the financial institutions teaches you exactly the opposite to what they are busy doing. Now, if you don't believe me, simply go to Old Mutual and type in a story with humble beginnings. And maybe I should try to move this just so that you can see, right? Or maybe even better, let me switch it off. Okay, it says that John Furbain started the mutual company with zero capital. In other words, with no capital. What does it mean? It means if I'm taking 100 Rand, people say it's impossible. He started with nothing. Zilch. When we start businesses, like in other examples and challenges that I've taken on, people say it can't be done. But this is what one of the biggest companies here in South Africa has done. This is what Warren Buffett has done. He started with $100. Anton Rupert started with £100. And I can story upon story tell you about people that started with basically nothing. You can start, and this is what I discovered in 87. You can buy a property with no money, you can start a business with no money, and then you can grow that by applying the wealth creator strategy. And this is what I want to bring to you. So risk is when we do not know what we're doing. So how do we offset it? Very simple. We apply the skills, but the right skills, right? So risk is offset by skills. So what if we take the 100 seeds ourselves and we start to learn how to plant these seeds, and we do it ourselves? And let's assume in real life that in 3 months' time, there's only one little seedling. The rest, there's nothing. And a year from now, there's just one plant. What will go through your mind? You're going to say, I'm a failure. Why? Because of the educational system. If you get 1 out of 100 right, you're not going to pass that subject. But you see, the educational system does not reward you for real life. They reward you for memorizing stuff because they want you to become an employee that does not think. Their job is for you not to think, because the moment that you start to query them, you're going to make these discoveries yourself. So in real life, it is by doing that you're getting the skills. It's by applying that knowledge that you're getting the skills. And it's by experiencing life that you gain the skills. There's no other way. Now, in training, there's a specific way that you can enhance that. But in general, that's the way that it works. So let's assume 5 years from now, you've just got one tree. And this tree starts bearing fruit. In other words, you've got a 1% success ratio. But this tree gives you 400 oranges with 5 seeds in each and every orange. And that gives you 2,000 seeds. So what's your return on investment? Instead of having 100, you've got the tree that's going to bear fruit for the next 20, 30, 40 years. I don't know how long it's going to bear the fruit. But here's the thing. You're going to have 2,000 seeds in the first year. You take that, you've put in 100 seeds, 99 of them did not grow, but you calculate the return on investment based on the 100, and you've got 1,900% return on your investment, which is 1,800% better than a person that has given their money away. But here's the main thing. You still do have that plant, and for the first time, you've got the skills. And no one can take those skills away from you. You can plant these trees here in South Africa. You can learn how to do it in America, because once you've got the skill, these farmers in other places in the world will employ you on condition that you can show the results. And this is what I really want to bring to you. Now, people are saying to me, Hannes, yeah, that sounds great, but 200,000% growth. This is what the financial institutions, if you take 100 seats and they give you 200,000 seats back, it sounds ridiculous, right? But what I wanted to prove and show and teach people, that's the reason why I took on this 100 Rand challenge. There's 100 seeds in, let's call it, if a seed is worth a value of 1 Rand per seed. And what is it that we've done? Well, at the moment, six months later, we're at 2.6 million. Not 200,000 Rand over a 5-year period. I'm talking about this potential that you have if you are willing to take the responsibility to learn the 4 high-value skills. This is what's available to you on condition that you change your mindset. In other words, you let go of those limited beliefs that is keeping you from investigating and invest in yourself so that you can do it and not rely on someone else. This is my passion. This is what I teach. This is what I want you to understand. You don't have to believe me. I'm going to do it with or without you. It's just a challenge and it's great. And I do have students on the Legacy Mentoring course that already is on it, and that's been with different and previous challenges that I had to show them, and where they're getting incredible results. Right, but that is for you to decide. I'm not going to try to convince you to do anything. But I think at least you owe it to yourself and to your family to stop believing these lies and that you do have it. And look at nature around you. You're going to see evidence of this that we are busy with in every single plant in nature. It's incredible, but we don't see it because we are conditioned not to see it. Now, here's something that I want you to understand is that no one is born with any skills. You're not born and then you're a medical doctor. It takes years and years and then years of studying to become a medical doctor. The same with the architect, the same with being a helicopter pilot, the same with everything. And investment is a skill, but the moment that you give your money to someone else, you cannot learn the skill. It's you give your seeds to someone else. It's not your seeds anymore, and there's nothing that you can learn. For that reason, all skills are transferable, teachable, and learnable on condition that you want to learn how to do that. This simply means that anyone can become a wealth creator. But there's a condition. You have to take the responsibility, and 3 things that you need to work on. First of all, your mindset. Your mindset is the mental skills that you need to master. Secondly, you need to learn the right skills, the skills of a wealth creator, so that you can do this yourself by limiting the risk and then get a phenomenal growth on your money. Because a wealth creator is a person that knows how to create, to grow, and to protect and to enjoy their money. But we do that without taking risk. So if the 100 Rand goes to 0, I've only lost 100 Rand. It's not going to change my life. That gentleman that gave each of those 2 people 500,000, if it does not work out, he's going to lose some or even all of his capital, and nothing but nothing is guaranteed. And I'm sure that you'll understand that that is the real risk. So you can do it, but the condition is that you have to learn these skills. And you're not going to learn these skills by going to university or following the path that I did by trying to become a certified financial planner. It's not going to work, my friend. And the financial system does not want you to get that you and you yourself can learn all the skills. So here's a question. How do you become a wealth creator? It's actually very simple, because the moment that you know how to turn 100 Rand into 2.6 million in just 7 months, then you can say that you're a wealth creator. So how do you become that? You have to follow a method. We call it a strategy or a plan. And if we can define the wealth creator strategy as the intelligent use of limited resources to go from where you are to where you want to be in the shortest possible time with the least amount of risk. Can you see that we start with risk? Risk is when you do not know what you're doing. Therefore, we offset the risk by applying the 4 high-value skills. The order that we apply that is we work on our mindsets, skill sets, action sets. We look at the actions that we are taking to the results. If those results will not help you to get closer, it means you have to come back and start working on skills. So if you want to become successful as a wealth creator, first of all, we have to define what is success to you. Now, success, if I can give you a definition of Earl Nightingale, he says, success is a progressive realization of a worthy goal, right? So if you do not have the goal, and that is why, if you attend the webinar as an example, or the masterclass, I'm going to give you the path to follow in order to set the right goals. Because majority of people have got no idea how to set goals, just like they've got no idea how the financial system works. And then to get it, the quickest way to get it is simply to get the right information in the right order for the level of the game that you're at. And then you have to do it. In other words, you have to take action. Now, that action that you're taking is going to give you a result. If that result is not going to bring you closer, in other words, progressive, moving closer to your goal, you know that you need to get to the skills. And the skills are in a very specific order. It's a very simple process the moment that you start. But you have to take control and you have to decide that you want to take that. If you're not going to do that and willing to learn that, it's not going to happen, my friend. I wish there was another way, but it's simply not going to work. Okay, so what are the solutions? The solution is, like I've said, it is high value skills. You start with a mental skill. If you're not prepared to change your mindset and be willing, it's not going to happen. And then the income, business, and investment. There are only 3 investments that I personally will invest this money that I've got. I've got in cryptocurrencies. At the moment, the cryptocurrencies is down. That 2,600,000 includes the cryptocurrency portfolio that I've got, although that portfolio is down. I invest in property and I invest in business. And I do so in a very, very specific way or in a very specific order. So if you want to learn the process and why you should learn this stuff, then I've got a masterclass called the 500K Challenge Masterclass. So I'm going to leave a link in the description area. You follow that. And in that masterclass, I'm going to show you the 3 disruptive profit secrets. And I'm sure that is going to supplement this that we've just done, and is literally going to take you to the next level. This is where I would start if I were you. So make sure to click that link. That is, of course, if you're interested. Please give me a feedback in terms of what's your take. Is there anything that you've learned from this training session? Do you also want to learn how to turn 100 Rand into, let's say, 2 million, maybe over 5 years, maybe 10 years even? That's still a phenomenal growth. Or like some of my students that has done that in a very, very short time, at least the 2 million in less than a year. Right, so please let me know in the comment section. And then also, if you found value in this, give me a like, subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. Click that bell icon, because on a week-to-week basis, we will inform you of new training material, like on YouTube that we've got. And then the last thing is, give me your feedback. Thank you so much for your time. I really hope that you are going to change your mindset and that we can welcome you as a wealth creator. See you.